Now we'll move on to the second session. It is titled NeoCity with Innovation Center, Digital Twin and Metaverse. After the moderator's introduction to the session, a presentation will be delivered by Mr. Jisoo Lee, lead researcher of ISIC Lab of Integrated Major of Smart City Global Convergence at Seoul National University. And we have 4 panelists lined up for this panel discussion. Mr. Mattson is a Smart, Connected, and Sustainable Communities Lead of Honeywell. Ms. Jessica J. Kim is Chief Legal Officer of NeoCity Links. Professor Yoon is a professor of University of Florida. And also Jisoo Lee, lead researcher at Seoul National University. The session will be moderated by Dr. Donald Basile, Chairman and co-CEO of Roman DBDR. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Donald Basile and all of the panelists. Dr. Donald Basile, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I want to make sure everyone can hear me.
Yes.
Fantastic. Well, we're very, very pleased to be here at this global session and to have such a distinguished panel. From Roman's perspective, as we manage a digital infrastructure fund, we're quite excited to hear from the panelists who spend their days, every day, building smart cities and making this vision come true. And so we have 2 panelists from industry. As the introductory remark said, Ron Mattson from Honeywell, a leading company where he leads a smart city initiative for Honeywell. I'm very excited to hear what they're doing globally around the world. And Ms. Jessica Kim, who is the Chief Legal Counsel of NeoCities, we'll hear more about, truly a leading and innovative smart city here in the state of Florida as well. And then from the research side, we have 2 very important researchers, Professor Yoon, who was both from, originally got his degrees at Seoul National University and then his PhD in the US, who's really leading innovation in very important devices that make smart cities possible. And then our youth who will lead us off with a presentation, the folks who will actually build for the next several decades these cities for us around the world. Mr. Lee, and we're really interested to Mr. Lee's presentation. He recently visited the NeoCity in Florida, and we're very interested in him to kick us off, tell us about NeoCity, the digital twin, and the collaboration between Korea and Florida in leading the Smart City Initiative. Mr. Lee.
Thank you so much, and thank you all for your time. Special thanks to Dr. Don Basile. It's a great honor to be here in the Global Smart City Leadership Forum of 2022. To start off, my name is Jisoo Lee, and I am the lead researcher in the ISIC Lab at SNU. Let me share with you today's slides on NeoCity, a brief introduction on the city's plan, and some findings that give key insights to smart city planning and lead to discussions. First is the introduction of NeoCity, and next is the primary findings on NeoCity innovation ecosystem, which is on what we have learned, and last we find what's next for NeoCity. As already mentioned in the previous session, NeoCity is the strategic development concept of the first smart city in Florida, United States. It's in central Florida, near the city of Kissimmee, and driven by the Osceola County government. The plan consists of approximately 500 acres that could be utilized for use of research parks, innovation districts, and other key elements of smart cities. To explain the area's special characteristics, NeoCity is surrounded by regional innovation clusters, including universities, the center of transportation, and also Osceola County is growing very fast in population. NeoCity will serve as the catalyst for high-tech innovation and creation. We expect that NeoCity will create an economic impact on the community, creating potential jobs and revenues from taxes. Perkins and Will's master plan on NeoCity put it up to around $25 billion in long term. More about NeoCity, maybe panelist Jessica Kim will back up some during our discussion time. So let's move on. Next is the primary findings on NeoCity innovation ecosystem, what we have learned. This is the compilation of results from interviews, investigation, and research analysis. From the Commission's interview, we are able to grasp an idea of the industry, economy, and issues in the county. We show that the county was very much focused on the agriculture and tourism industries. Also, problems in the environment, especially water and transportation, were detected. Commissioner Ricky Booth suggested smart solutions on water management, ranching, and transportation. And also, Commissioner Peggy Chaudhry suggested technology collaboration with the tourism industry, for example, smart transportation technology and facilities for autonomous vehicles. She also added that we should hear what's needed from the young generation and what they dream of as the smart city. The Osceola County administration leadership was also very much interested in the NeoCity development plan. Traffic congestion and affordable housing, environmental protection issues were some of the key points to consider when planning the city. Also, the city office were finding ways how to deliver information to the residents in an efficient way. The executive team of the county had thoughts on the next steps. They understood the importance of the smart city concept, but the next step is how do we utilize technology? So investment in technologies which make the most sense was important to the executive team, and also with those technologies, they were trying to figure out how to diversify the economy. We also interviewed Ron Mattson, who will be joining us as one of the panelists for today, and received information on the potential smart city framework that could work with collecting data. Also, he suggested that findings components from the privately developed Lake Lona region, which focuses on being a medical city, would be useful. And also, Professor Yoon, another panelist for today, suggested collaboration between SNU and the University of Florida, and agreed to share ideas on identifying and comparing the priorities of the NeoCity innovation ecosystem by doing research. Also, we found that there are great opportunities near NeoCity in the concept of live, work, play. There needs to be entertainment around the city, and in order to hold events, we need large complexes. So far, I show you the interview summaries. We thought that NeoCity could be a testbed for research and development because all were interested in smart technology, either to create economic benefits or to solve social problems in the community. Also, we suggested some potential business models that could be in place. For example, autonomous EV shuttles may take tourists from places, hotels, and famous locations. There needs to be an infrastructure support, which requires R&D investment and test beds. Also, there could be an esports arena in the Osceola Heritage Park for game enthusiasts. This could benefit the whole economy by attracting a huge number of audiences. Urban air mobility, or air taxis, could take consumers, tourists, and residents around and replace the helicopter business in the Central Florida. Also, we could adopt smart agriculture and farming, and ranching solutions which use IoT or the Internet of Things. We suggest this to connect with the farmers market that opens at specific hours and consumers. On top of the R&D testbed, manufacturing companies, such as microchips and semiconductors, accompanied by innovative technology creators, could establish their business here. Mobility vehicle manufacturing, semiconductor R&D, and other tech-driven fields are possible. Metaverse could be a great synergy to the media and entertainment industry. Since tourism is huge in the county, this could well match. As the importance of the environment increases, there are business opportunities for smart environment management. NeoCity could have digital twins, data hubs, and platforms to monitor the environment and possibly warn residents of natural disasters. To sum up, the research group suggests the following business models that could operate in NeoCity. We added professional education for the fourth industrial revolution frontier, global R&DB management business, and also financial innovation business. We find that there needs to be an innovation center, which is what current progress is done. The IC will connect different entities and stakeholders of different understandings and do research on smart technologies. Also, to plan for tomorrow of NeoCity, the role of universities, researchers, students, and future business creators should have this chance to be on-site and collaborate. This should be included in the digital master plan. And the master plan should consist of specific action plans and management plans. We expect that smart city initiatives, including new cities, will lead to the region's economic development. And we expect that higher skilled jobs and higher wages will increase, providing more decent workplaces for the residents. Smart cities will create business opportunities in smart buildings, healthcare, transportation, infrastructure, governance and education, security and energy. That's what NeoCity will get from implementing smart cities. This is what we prepare for today. We hope that fruitful discussions will continue. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. That's a wonderful overview of NeoCities and some of the collaborative work and possibilities. What we'd really like to talk about in this panel is getting the expertise on what's practical, what will happen now and in the near future. And my first question goes to Ms. Kim, who is both the Chief Legal Officer of NeoCities, but also the President of the University in Florida. And Ms. Kim, you know, smart cities have the goal to increase the quality of life and drive economic growth. Mr. Lee talked about a $1.5 trillion economic opportunity. What is your view specifically, the economic growth through smarter cities, and how can we achieve that?
Well, you know, I don't think I have the perfect answer for that, but you know, when we in our county first envisioned our community, our NeoCity, we started with a vision to have a technology park. But as we evolved and with the post-pandemic era, you know, we quickly realized that just having a technology park doesn't make sense, and it's not the ecosystem-driven model anymore. So we started to work with various experts, and especially with Dr. Hwang and his team at Seoul National University, to really put together a different vision, a vision of a smart city, a smart connected city that seamlessly brings every component of life together, the live, work, and play. So as we look at the technologies and the innovation that goes into smart cities, we found a solution to bring those types of jobs and the companies to our region. You know, having a smart city ecosystem just driving the undercurrent of innovation, technology, and education. So we are very fortunate to be working with a global network of experts in our Smart City Board to really bring that type of an undercurrent that will fuel continuous innovation and bring the prosperity that we're looking for at NeoCity.
Oh, thank you very much for those comments. Next, I wanted to move on to Ron. Ron, you really bring a tremendous amount of leadership, and as Mr. Lee pointed out, we're able to provide information on over 80 projects, approximately 80 projects in the smart city over the years, and Honeywell is a leader in that. I suspect that many of the folks attending this conference and will watch these videos are thinking about how they might consider smart cities in their own communities. So what challenges does a master developer community face they consider creating a smart city community or campus?
Hi, Don. Thanks for the question, and hello to everybody. I'm grateful to be a part of this dialogue today. You know, I think having a clear vision on what you're looking to have out of this, you know, smart community. You know, tongue in cheek, when people ask, what is a smart city? Oftentimes the answer is, you know, whatever the developer says it's going to be, right? But, you know, having that vision for, you know, the smart city and using technology to make better decisions. But you know, I think working with partners and organizations that can help you establish standards and, you know, blueprints, you know, for each sub-developer that's coming into a development to make sure that, you know, they adhere to the vision and the standards that have been laid out by, you know, projects like NeoCity, where they have this vision, they've had this vision for years on I'm lucky to live maybe 10, 15 minutes away from NeoCity and have been talking to Jessica and the team for some time. But just to make sure that others are going to adhere to the standards and the vision that have been laid out, I'm working on a couple of projects where you have the master developer that has this vision, and the first developer that's coming in, they don't want to adhere to the standards. So that's the first one. And you're working over 500 acres here, roughly 500 acres in NeoCity. Others are, maybe smaller, 250 acres or 1,000 acres. But when the first sub-developer comes in and doesn't want to adhere to the standards, it kind of detracts from that vision that's been talked about for years and years.
Thank you, Ron. Appreciate those comments. And it does sound like there's a tremendous amount of logistics in putting a smart city together. And also, in addition to logistics, really, smart cities are about technology and having the proper technology to drive things. And I'd like Professor Yoon, who is one of the leaders in the world of developing devices that could enable these smart cities, to tell us as a device expert what device or devices are yet to be invented and are required to actually realize this smart city vision.
Well, thank you very much, first of all, for inviting me to this great panel session and also those very intriguing questions. So in general, I'd like to talk about some technology. Well, we are using our cell phone every day. But we see that probably 2 or 3 years ago, we used to use a 4G LTE network, the long-term evolution, and then now we are moving to 5G communication. So basically, the technology difference in the 4G and 5G is we are using much broader bandwidth, the frequency, not only the sub 6 gigahertz frequency, but maybe 28 gigahertz or 35 or millimeter wave. The reason is we are now moving much faster. So we are using the smart transportation while still we are maintaining our communication, which need a much faster data transfer rate and also smaller latency. So this kind of the technology, wireless communication, this is the one we need for now. And also moving toward the people already preparing for 6G, which require much higher bandwidth. And maybe a part of that is requiring satellite communication. We know that the Starlink will maybe covering our Earth with a 10,000 satellite, low Earth orbit satellite. Then we all globally were connected through the satellite communication. So that's probably the technology we have to prepare. We will see very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Yoon. Appreciate those comments and quite insightful. Mr. Lee, you are a researcher today, a lead researcher, and probably considering remaining in academia, but also entering industry or government to drive smart cities. And so 2 questions there for you, really. What is the role of universities in bringing up innovation in newly developing cities like NeoCities and others? And then how could collaboration between entities in NeoCity trigger new business opportunities?
Thank you, Dr. John. So university members consist of students, of course, and faculty members, and also researchers that could trigger new innovative researches and studies. So not only that, but new business models, collaboration between the members could take place, and also economic prosperity could arise from those new business. So I think in NeoCity, the entities and the members should be in place with each other and trigger and think of new ideas that could help smart cities take place in action. And also, the role of university would be very important in that not only the university itself, but the university collaborate with other important entities and research labs, and also government, in order to make some new values to the society.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. I appreciate those comments. Ms. Kim, let's change things up a little bit here and certainly we have a close collaboration between Korea and Florida, SNU and NeoCities, but listen, urban areas are very diverse, and NeoCity in Florida will be different from any city in the world. What does it mean to become a smart city in the US versus Asia versus Europe? Could you spread some perspective for the global audience we have?
Sure. I think in Asia or maybe in South Korea, we see a lot of the national government driving the technology innovation. So the smart cities in Korea we see are very well supported by the national government, but also municipalities and local government. We don't see this initiative so much in the United States. I think in the United States, NeoCity is very unique in that aspect where a local county government is really spearheading this very risky almost drive to bring innovation to NeoCity. I think there's also challenges from the community, not only from leadership, but from community, especially I think in the US, we have a lot of hesitancy about data sharing and privacy issues that I don't see so much here in our Asian communities. So there are definitely different challenges that we face just uniquely because we're in the US. But one of the reasons that we want to collaborate so closely with Korea and other nations in the smart city design and development is to learn and bring back those best models to NeoCity.
Thank you very much for that. Recently, there's been a lot of issues around the global semiconductor supply chain. And one of the interesting areas of NeoCities is that it has some wafer smart room capabilities within it, and potentially could lead to a semiconductor manufacturing site within the Smart City initiative. Professor Yoon, do you think, and to what extent, should smart cities be looking at having their own wafer fabrication capabilities?
All right, thank you very much for the very interesting question. So first of all, that Florida is a less tech-equipped state. We are agriculture state and a tourist state. But in the future, we know that semiconductor is called the rise of the industry. So we need a semiconductor. And then we must have a good semiconductor manufacturing site. There is in the center of Florida, and the bridge and the Skywater, the new company just start to build those capability that smart city or NeoCity is basically leading that activity. I'm very excited to have seen that one. But also we want to attract more for the global leader and manufacturing side. There is one reason, say, this is the data is one of the important value we are counting on these days. So then the data center is a very important infrastructure. So many companies are building data center. So in order to maintain that, one of the issue is that heating. It is generating a lot of heat. So for example, the Facebook now is Meta. They are making their data center close to North Pole, Sweden, very cold area, because they need the cooling down and the water. But the Florida is very much have a water abundant state. You don't have any mountain, but we have a lot of water, lake, pond. So and also spring water everywhere. That the spring water gives us the constant temperature all year round. So you have this is a perfect place for data center construction, and for that we need the manufacturing site to provide the memory device to the data center. So I think our smart city must have that kind of both the data center as well as a manufacturing site with the semiconductor capability. That will be our vision. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Yoon. I think that the cities will benefit today, at least in the US and Korea, from the government initiatives that are supporting semiconductor manufacturing expansion in both countries. Ron, I want to come back to you, and as we're talking about technologies and devices and the great experience that Honeywell and you have, what, in addition to what Professor Yoon talked about earlier, what are a few examples of smart technologies that are looking to you're looking to deploy to solve for smart city communities or campuses?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Don. The starting point for, that I would look at is, having an IoT enablement platform that can integrate, numerous disparate smart technologies from throughout a community into a single platform for a single pane of glass to run, manage, optimize, and potentially monetize the assets that you have within the community, the development, or the campus, or what we're talking about today is talking about NeoCity, right? So, everything from, once you have your command center that can run and manage the project, you get into areas like, safety and security. So everything from cameras to gunshot detection to, maybe smart dynamic lighting when there's an instance. You get into mobility and transportation as another topic. So could be traffic management, smart parking, EV charging, which also falls into the sustainability and energy side. Smart street lights, smart parking. You get into, sustainability and energy and how do you connect into, EV charging or smart waste and smart bins for trash pickup. And of course, the backbone behind all of this is deploying fiber. So we might be moving on from fiber, but making sure that there's connectivity. Where I live, every home, every business has a gigabit of connectivity coming into the home. That's the platform, the basis for, smart community. And then, just another example would be a citizen engagement app. So creating a seamless experience and frictionless experience for the residents and the tenants, the students, the faculty, whoever may be, coming into these different development campuses. Just a few thoughts.
Thanks, Ron. Quite a bit of technology to be deployed for sure in the smart city. I'm going to ask each of the panelists to comment on my next question. And our panel name includes a very interesting term of late, because the most recent new thing is the Metaverse. And the Metaverse has economic activity predictions of over 8 trillion by the global consulting firm McKinsey and over 11 trillion by the global bank Citibank. And I'd like each panelist to comment and tell us how you see the relationship between the Metaverse and smart cities, and how will the growth of the Metaverse affect the smart city movement. Why don't we start with Mr. Lee?
Thank you. Thank you for the interesting question. So to tell you about the Metaverse, as I understood, I think Metaverse is not just only a virtual world. It's more than that. It extends to real-timeness. So smart cities, along with digital twin, can be combined with Metaverse concept and create as what we know as a digital and real-time world. So I think the growth of Metaverse is a platform that could enable other business models that could be part of the whole platform. And there you see the importance in the economy development and new business models.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Ms. Kim, could you comment on how you see the relationship between the Metaverse and smart cities, and maybe even specifically NeoCity?
Yes, Don, thank you. Well, I think there's a natural connection between the Metaverse and a smart city. It may even be a precursor for a smart city, just given the fact that if there are communities, residents that are resistant to the idea of data sharing, or what does it mean to live in a smart city, a smart home, or work in a smart building, the Metaverse will allow a platform for users, residents, workers to experience this before it's actually implemented physically in our living environment. So I think there is an intrinsic and a natural connection between the two. And I do see that because of the innovation that we're seeing with Metaverse just kind of creeping into our lives in every corner, that there will be an acceleration of bringing that into the smart city model. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ron, back to you. How do you see it personally, or how does Honeywell see this tremendous economic potential of the metaverse and impacting the smart city movement?
Yeah, I'll take it from a personal perspective in this case, Tom. I think there's so much to learn in the world of metaverse. I think that everybody has so much to learn about what it is, how it's going to impact. Personally, from my role, I would look to see how our City Suite platform, which is a system of systems, how we would perhaps integrate into other platforms to serve the communities that we're working with. Whether it be, for example, here would be within a NeoCity. So that's how I would look at it from our perspective. But tons to learn on how it's going to impact the smart cities.
And Professor Yoon will give you the last word as a leading innovator that certainly is considering these things. Please give us your thoughts on the metaverse and smart city interaction.
Well, as an educator, we have seen that this online education was more active the last 2 years because of the pandemic. Whether we recognize it or not, we are already a part of that metaverse environment. This meeting, basically in Korea, Seoul, here, and Florida, we are basically connected and sharing ideas and talking about. This is a kind of a role model of our future smart city. So then the smart city is already in part of the cyber and physical all combined together. So we don't have to separate the one from the physical site and the cyber. We are living in both mixed existing environment. So this is the future.
Well, that's very encouraging that we're already living it and part of it. And actually quite exciting when people, I think, realize that the metaverse can extend to the overlay of AR and augmented reality, which the technology of a smart city can make available, probably better than an existing city. And that makes the new question for me come into mind, which is, given the amount of new technology must be deployed in achieving a smart city vision, does it require greenfield development? If so, does that mean that progress of smart cities will be severely constrained by large existing metropolitan areas? I'd like each of the panelists to comment on that if they can. And Ron, I'll go to you first, having seen so many cities around the world. Do we have to?
Would you repeat the question again, Don? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, given the amount of new technology must be deployed in achieving a smart city vision, does it require a greenfield development? Do you have to start essentially with land or reclaim land to go build the city from the ground up? And if it does it mean that we're going to be severely constrained in our large existing metropolitan areas of ever becoming smart?
No, look, I'm working on several greenfield projects, and those are obviously for me they're fun, they're enjoyable because you can help establish the vision along with that partner for the long-term strategy for that smart city or smart community. Brownfield projects are maybe faster deployment for us from a technology perspective. There is some retrofit that has to happen in certain assets that are out there, and but we can still leverage an IoT enablement platform to integrate already deployed technologies into a system. But then there will be some retrofit as you go back to some of the older assets that have been around for a period of time.
Thanks, Ron. That's encouraging. Mr. Lee, as you look at it from your research perspective, what do you think about the ability to or need to have a greenfield development versus the ability to retrofit cities and make them smart cities?
Thank you. Thank you for the interesting question. I think in my personal perspective, given the amount of new technology, I think currently most smart city projects that are in large scale, they go to greenfield development. But however, as population grows in major large cities, they will need a smart city concept in the future, nonetheless. And also, that means that technology will develop to that match the level, and also new investments will come in. And also, in terms of city regeneration, I think in some cases, we will see the brownfield development also, and by introducing new smart city solutions to the area.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Jessica, clearly you're leading a great greenfield development effort and learning a tremendous amount from that. Given that perspective, how do you view the need for greenfield versus potentially retrofitting cities, large metropolitan areas to become smart?
Well, I don't think it necessarily has to be a greenfield. But if it is a greenfield, there are a lot of obstacles that you have already gotten out of the way. I like to bring up the project that Google Sidewalk Labs was doing in Toronto a number of years ago, where they were trying to renovate and retrofit a city block and bring that smart city model into this Toronto waterfront. The project never happened because of the resistance from the community, the residents that were living there, the politicians and leadership who thought that there will be too much data sharing. So as you can see just from that example, it's important to have a community buy-in, a very strong leadership that is driving the smart city development and model. And certainly is a lot easier when you don't have anybody living there, like in NeoCity, to put together policies and guidelines and to ensure that residents or workers or companies that are coming into the smart city understand the level of data sharing and are comfortable with that. So again, just to answer your question, it's not necessarily a must, but it certainly will make it a little bit easier process.
Thank you very much. And Professor Yoon, once again, we'll give you the last word on this topic. And, I think that 20 years ago, most people, 20 years ago is pre the smartphone and pre the Google mapping services. And people would have had a hard time envisioning how much real-time information we can have and share on everything about each other and about how things are flowing. Give us your perspective on looking at technology. How much easier will it become to retrofit these large urban areas to actually make them achieve the vision of smart cities?
Well, thank you for the question. So there are two parts where there's a hardware side infrastructure and the software or data or that kind of software side, cyber information aspect. So then this hardware, once you build, it's very hard to change. So it takes a little bit longer time to renovate. The retrofit takes a longer time. If you have a greenfield, it's advantageous now if you have money and build the new hardware. If you look at the example of the cell phone, you have a brand new iPhone 14 version versus iPhone 2. You can still have a hardware. You can constantly update the software, and then you can use that. But at some point, there is some change. You have to completely change the hardware too. But our city, the lifetime is not every year update kind of thing. So maybe the lifetime of city is a more decade, say 20 or 30 years. For that time period, our hardware is still existing hardware can be utilized by constantly updating the cyber or information or data of that perspective. So then, once you build a new smart city and from greenfield, at some point you have to update the hardware again. So you have to smartly see that how we can develop the city from scratch versus the city for retroactively updating that one. So those two approaches should be coexisting, co-development. So then we have two different manuals for those two cases.
Thank you very much for those comments. You know what? We've been talking about the city, and the city is something that sounds big and evokes the idea of government. As Professor Yoon just said, the infrastructure of a city should last at least 20, 30 years in the scale of decades. So I guess a question I believe the audience would like to know from each of you is, what's the role of the public sector and the private sector in bringing a smart city concept to reality? Does a smart city imply that it can only really be accomplished with a public-private partnership? Is that always needed? As Ms. Kim pointed out, the Google sidewalk project didn't come off because of buy-in. So back to you, Ms. Kim, on that question.
I do think that it is a critical component to have a public-private partnership in having a successful smart city model. You know, having the public and our leadership in our communities support the initiative is important, but also having support from an infrastructure point of view, as in, you know, when we look at NeoCity, you know, the county government invested heavily into making sure that the infrastructure, the hardware was in place for this community to be smart. So without that type of investment from the public and the policy making from the public side, I do think it will be difficult to have a successful smart city model.
Professor Yoon, comments on that topic?
Yes, so public and private, there is for city regulation policy, definitely we need the support from government and public, and for also, but we in the long run, we want to have the collaboration that both sides, and I'm in the education side, so we constantly talk about how we can share the data without conflicting. At some point, this is a double-edged sword. So we encourage the data share, but on meantime, we're protecting the data or the idea of intellectual property. So those are two. So then, at some point, somebody, either government or regulation, should put some kind of line where we can officially share that one in public domain, and some is or belong to private, by which we can minimally disrupt the existing societal rule, and we can figure out that coexisting society.
Thank you, Professor Yoon. Ron, you've seen a lot of projects. I think you mentioned being part of one that's a private project, but do you see that really to make it a reality, we need the public-private partnership?
You know, there are certain areas. I've seen several public-private, you know, partnerships, and I live in one, and I think the benefit of the public-private partnership is when you have a private developer, you know, within a city that's got a large-scale project, and that would be, you know, similar to what NeoCity is. You know, you have the opportunity on the private side to test theories and test technologies within that community much faster than would the public, let's call it the city itself or the municipality. So you can work together with them, and you can collaborate on technologies, you can collaborate on roads, you can collaborate on different things. But the fact that in the private development you can work, test, operate much faster these solutions than just relying on the municipality.
Thank you very much. You know, we're coming towards the end of the session, so I wanted to get a couple more things in. And so, Mr. Lee, I want to move on to you and ask you, you know, so get back to the practical right now for a few minutes. How feasible are the potential business models suggested by NeoCity? And what can be the preconditions for industry that's interested in them to participate in the NeoCity project?
Thank you for the questions. So in the presentation, I presented about 10 potential business models that could be suggested for NeoCity. And those include some potential areas, including semiconductors, education, business, and financial innovation, and other new technology enabling sectors such as air taxis, UAM, and also what I remember is autonomous EV shuttle. So those are the potential business models. They show us what will be in the future of New City, and those, apart from those, there are sub under business new businesses that could be enabled, because those primary businesses, they are the ecosystem. They bring new ideas and key industries to be in place in the new city. So I think those preconditions for the industry are the strong government support and infrastructure, as mentioned before. And also, the industry should take part in developing those businesses, because the economic prosperity of the region comes from those new businesses. So that's what I want to answer, and that's my thought. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Mr. Mattson, listen, investment involves a degree of risk. And how can leaders with a vision for a smart city, community, or campus mitigate risk as they start their smart deployment?
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Good question. Look, you need to start with strong leadership and a firm commitment to move forward with your vision, right? And you need to start with a strategy, with the end in mind. So you start doing your research, you start creating user stories, you do the user stories and interview the different personas that will be a part of the community, whether that be residents, tenants, visitors, students, faculty, and so forth. But really starting with those user stories and understanding the end in mind. I'd say you create a feasibility study. So understand the current state and the desired state. So kind of ties to the first one, but very important would be to, in addition to that, create a technology master plan for the different types of assets that are going to be deployed throughout the community, the campus, the city, the public realm. So whether it be office, residential, public realm, parking, streets, whatever the case may be, and then have a partner that can be the voice of the developer to assure that these sub-developers adhere to the vision that's been laid out and the blueprints that have been laid out for these different assets that are going to be deployed in this smart city, campus, or community. Tom, it looks like you might have frozen up here on the webinar. There he is.
Welcome back.
This had gone remarkably well until I was putting my question in there, and I wonder if a panelist hit a button, because I'm putting you on the spot here. Okay, it's been over a decade. And as Mr. Lee pointed out in the presentation, some are predicting 1.5 trillion or more in smart city economic activity. But please take out your crystal ball or other predictor of the future and help our audience to determine when will smart cities become a significant amount of infrastructure built around the world. Ms. Kim, to you.
Well, I actually don't have a crystal ball, but I think in the next, decade, we're going to see a very fast-paced acceleration of just innovation coming through with our data analytics and, big AI and everything that's happening. That we're going to see a stronger drive for different communities and cities and urban areas to quickly adapt and bring in the technologies that are readily available now to make the lives of our citizens better. I think that is the ultimate goal of smart cities, is to bring prosperity, but also to bring up the quality of life and make our cities and communities more safe and friendly, that we're living in healthier environments. But I think right now we're at that cusp where we're going to see that quick acceleration and an abundance of just initiatives and funding that's available to bring these technologies into our daily lives. Thank you.
Professor Yoon, when is your predictor?
At the beginning, I talked about that the technology of wireless communication enable us to make it possible and to make the key component for smart city. But also, I'd like to point out an energy perspective. So not only the energy, the source, not the solar panel or a petroleum source, but I'd like to point out more energy distribution. So we do not have a very well distributed energy world at the moment. So for example, we are living in the city and all the electricity is supplied through the wired approach. But if you are located a very far located area, either desert or ocean, or even think about the moon. We are building a new habitat, the moon. The energy distribution, we need some kind of electricity transmission power tower. It takes longer time. So we may need some other shorter, faster approach. Say wireless power transmission might be a very important technology. So then we maybe skip that infrastructure building, but we can sending energy almost as the same as sending data through wireless communication. So this wireless power transfer technology will be also a key component for future smart city. We need that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. What year will we have significant infrastructure build attributed to smart cities?
You're calling me on a number. Wow, thanks, Don. I don't know if I can give you a year. I don't have the crystal ball either, but the U.S. is somewhat behind in the smart city realm from my perspective. Energy, sustainability, climate change, new technologies are driving smart for people. There's significant interest in all the groups that we talk to from every avenue. Maybe some of those grants out there today will help kickstart some of these opportunities. And success breeds success. So as we continue to build out smart communities, smart campuses, smart cities, success breeds more, and that's going to deliver more. And I think there's going to be more stories to tell over the next 10 years regarding smart communities, smart cities, smart campuses, and so forth.
And Ms. Jolie, the last word to you, don't be shy. Give us your best prediction on the year and time that smart cities will become a significant part of infrastructure build.
My personal thoughts, maybe it's already happening now, maybe, but as we see the exhibition hall today here in KINTEX, we see some smart city solutions that are cutting edge, very new, and can be applied to real world. So this includes the use of Internet of Things, telecommunications, and other new business models that can be in place. But however, there are some obstacles that to implement these new solutions into the real world, because there are, as already mentioned, some political barriers, and also how people think about those new technologies. So whether to persuade them and to adopt them, those technologies, there needs to be time, and that could be up to the young generation, I think, yes.
Thank you very much, and I really want to thank all of our panelists as we conclude this session for their tremendous insight. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please give a big round of applause to Professor Donald Basile, Chairman and Co-CEO of Roman DBDR, and all of our panelists. Mr. Ron Mattson, Smart, Connected, and Sustainable Communities Lead of Honeywell. Ms. Jessica J. Kim, Chief Legal Officer of NeoCity Links. Professor Yoon, Professor of University of Florida, and Mr. Jisoo Lee, Lead Researcher of Seoul National University. This panel discussion session suggested visionary potentials and business opportunities as well as challenges for smart city implementation, and also addressed the smart technologies in NeoCity in bringing conceptual smart city to reality based on public, private, and academic partnerships. I appreciate all of the speakers for a thought-provoking panel discussion. Now, to wrap up Global Smart City Leadership Forum 2022, I'd like to invite Professor Jun-Seok Hwang, Director of Seoul National University Global R&DB Center, and Director of Seoul National University Innovative Human Resource Development, Education and Research Group for Smart City Global Convergence. He will deliver the closing remarks. Please give a warm welcome to Professor Jun-Seok Hwang.
Thank you, everyone, and also congratulations for the successful forum that we have for sharing our leadership and knowledge. First of all, I'd like to give my great appreciation to all 12 leaders whom I invited as a congratulatory remarker and keynote speaker and interviewee and also the panelists. If you, all of you attendee and the world, if you see the brochure, you would be able to see that the photos of 12 the leaders, great leaders from the world whom I invited on site and also online. I greatly also appreciate my friend Mr. Jason Alford from the World Bank, and also Jessica Kim, and also Jisoo Lee, also on site as a leader, and other panelists online, and also newbie. Well, your attendance and your sharing really gave us a strong confirmation and confidence that we have 12 great leaders in the world who show their effort as a professional and as a smart citizens, and who show the modality that how the smart city can develop. And they've been showing their lifelong commitment to do one thing to change the world. That's why I'm being invited, that all these precious leaders from the world. Every our future generations and people and citizens will have a strong confidence by looking and listening, and also the sharing, the video clips and their speeches and their inspiration that we have today to be shared the rest of the world. Why? The life story that they've been sharing today is not just only knowledge. This is real life, wrong story that from their life. And their citizens, their people and community really knows that what they're talking is what they know. And what they're talking is what they've been living, what they're thinking, what they have been teaching and sharing, and also learn them by themselves. I think that gives us strong confidence for the leaders to come in from front and to share in this community. I'm really giving my great thanks to all 12 leaders, special leaders from Global Smart Leadership. As a concluding remark, I'd like to give you some of my leadership thought and inspiration from while I'm studying the smart city and smart city leadership. First of all, many people actually ask me that, and ask our leaders that, why do we need a smart city? And why smart? Why technology? Why metaverse? Why twin? So then I'm asking them back, what we have a problem in common, and then I say that why comes from the limitation what we have of humanity. We experience the limitation of space. physical space, a knowledge space, and any other space anyway. The space we have been creating has been exhausted, developed, and wasted, and we need to create further spaces. Second, we need to be free from the limitation of time. As we see already that we are in the living the world, then our time difference actually shows a difficulty for that. We need to free from us from the time limitation. Definitely there should be a creativity to create new time resources that what we can benefit others. The thirdly, still we are very limited with the information that to be shared or create the knowledge for the rest of our world, and also to direct the future to compete with the uncertainty and risk and the problem we have in socially. That will bring us to some of the solution that we can get the freedom, where we can get the ability, and we can get some of more energy and environment. Finally, we can get the more vitality for our lives and commitment. I think that's why the leadership is taking care of all this smart city and smart civilization and metaverse and digital twin. As you know that the metaverse and digital twin is not only the technology, it is the artifact and masterpiece. We try to create another world for us to create the new resources, because human now are matured and developed. Now we need more resources to share and to fulfill the need of our new generation and ourselves, and also rest part of the universe and economy. I believe we leaders are taking care of not only the today or day by day, but we are taking care of the generations and centuries of our global community. I really thank all my global smart city leadership who have been here today, and all the participants and the people who are listening this YouTube. You are smart city citizens already, and the civilization effort belongs to us, and then with these great leaders, I believe we would be able to create the future that what we believe through smartness for the global community. Thank you. I'm looking forward to seeing you again in next year's Global Smart City Leadership Forum 2023. Thank you. Enjoy the expo. Thank you.
Please give a big round of applause to Professor Jun-Seok Hwang. Thank you very much for your motivational remarks. With that, we'll wrap up Global Smart City Leadership Forum 2022 at World Smart City Expo. Once again, Seoul National University Global R&DB Center and Seoul National University Innovative Human Resource Development, Education and Research Group for Smart City Global Convergence. I'd like to express our gratitude to all the speakers and participants for taking precious time to be with us today. We hope that Global Smart City Leadership Forum 2022 provides you with valuable insights on global leadership for inclusive and sustainable smart cities in respect of great global convergence between digital twin and metaverse. Hope to see you all again next year at World Smart City Expo 2023. Thank you very much and have a great day.